I'm moving abroad to another country, please do not skip past this video. Ciao a tutti, I'm Sam from A Perry Life, and I'm a Black American that lives between New York City and Florence, Italy. I've been seeing a lot of videos online from different people stating that they want to move abroad, and the reasoning is always superficial. It's always food, it's always culture, it's always, lifestyle that really is reflected from their very touristic mindset. So in this video, I just want to briefly talk about what the realities are of living in Italy as an actual Italian or as a person that deals with the Italian bureaucracy. So the first thing that is one of the most frustrating things while being in Italy is just the basic paperwork. The paperwork of getting your visa, you have to figure out what visa you're going to qualify for. As you all know, what's going on in the US, that is something that, with green card holders or people who want green card or a status of asylum, it is really difficult to be able to obtain that. And it's no different in Italy. It's no different whatsoever. So that's something that you, as a person who wants to move abroad, you have to figure out how you can be in another country for an extended amount of time. And coming to Europe and not having to complete any paperwork outside of your airline paperwork does not constitute you as a person who can live in another city. You're basically just a tourist, and they know that you come from a country, especially if you're from like the US, Canada, Australia, the UK. I know that you come from a country that you 9 times out of 10 will go back to, which is why there's that 90 out of 100 day visa type of situation that a lot of people end up dealing with. So that's the first thing you need to take into consideration. I'm seeing a lot of people online that kind of skip over that, and it puts you in a really, really, really bad position down the line. And what ends up happening is that you have to go back to scratch. Next thing is that you need to find work, and finding work in other countries is not easy. A common thing that you find Americans doing abroad is they will work as an English teacher. Now, I don't know about you guys. I am not a person who has the patience to go through the entire grammatical stages of English, and I don't feel confident enough to teach another person how to speak English properly. It's something that a lot of people do, and I feel like after a certain amount of time, a person kind of ends up succumbing to the fact that they can, teach English as the last option. But most Americans do not want to teach English once they come abroad. They might do one of those little short stints of doing English teaching in another country, but I feel like most of them, that is not their main that's not their main goal when they've gotten their degree or when they've moved abroad. It's just something that they've settled for. So finding work is something that's not easy to do abroad, and it's something that you need to consider before you pack your bags and leave. The next thing is housing. Housing is so difficult to find abroad, especially because in majority of the big cities, a lot of the housing is being taken up from the tourism. So when you think of the tourism or the tourists that you probably were at one point in time being able to afford, €1,000 for a week, this is something, if you think about it, it's €4,000 for the entire month when it comes to, sorry, there's like lawn men down there and I'm like looking at them. It's €1,000 for a month for housing. Most people can't afford that, or they don't want to afford that. Or there's a certain type of, like you when you think of like Airbnb versus actual, an apartment that you would live in long term, they're completely different in a lot of ways, in the furnishing, in the location, and all of that stuff. But most of the European towns that you've been to and that you want to visit, they've become huge touristic sites, even when it comes to the housing situation where locals can't find housing and tourists allow themselves, or they accept paying a lot of money for a place that kind of isn't that great sometimes. So that's something else that you have to think about. I also wanted to quickly add that there are a lot of renters who do not want to rent to foreigners long term, or just people long term in general, because they can make more money flipping the place on a regular basis, putting tourists in and out. They can also have the price fluctuate because of holidays and stuff, which means they'll get more money from doing that. And then there's also you can become a squatter. And a lot of people do not want to risk having a squatter in their apartment. So those are a lot of reasons, just a few reasons, on why a renter, a person who's renting an apartment only wants to do it short term. The next thing is, and it ties into work that I said earlier, but you're making a certain amount of money, yes. Will you be able to keep up with the new lifestyle in your new country? And are you, and this is something that, and it goes into what life is like once you return to the States. And this is something that I feel I'll make another video on about life returning to the States. A lot of people put themselves in this financial hole moving abroad, and they think that they'll just kind of figure it out. They'll figure it out eventually. And they realize that there is no real way to get yourself to the same standards that you were in when you're back in the States, unless you are really marrying somebody. And that sounds really horrible, but marrying someone, or you have a crazy person who's a crazy amount of support coming in from someone who's like financially supporting you and sponsoring you while you are abroad. And I don't know how sustainable that is for a lot of people. Anyway, this is a super short video about this. Comment down below if you want me to continue to dive into any of these topics. There is a lot of things I feel that needs to be discussed about moving to Europe, and I'm actually looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So that's it. Ciao, ciao.